Oh hey, it's Emily and I'm very excited for today's video. I'm going to be introducing my new TBR game and doing my TBR for January, so definitely excited. And let's see if I can actually get this all in frame. This this is my TBR board. Maybe made it a little too large, but that's okay. So this is TBR Land. And it's actually pretty simple. I'm just going to describe what I'm going to do each month very briefly. So I'm going to start on this yellow start square right here. And then there are 5 different colors on here. There's a pink, green, blue, purple, and a gray color. And I'm going to start here and basically just roll a dice and wind my way across the board and then down and back around. And I have a 20-sided dice from Fairy Loot right here in this pouch. So basically I'm going to roll a 20-sided dice, which is why I wanted a good number of squares and for me to be able to wrap back around. So for 4 to 5 rolls I can still keep going even if I need to go around the board more than once. So yeah, I'm just going to roll the board, and whatever color I land on will correspond to 5 different ways. And I've got a key down here. I'll tell you what it is because it's not very visible, but I've got each color essentially represents one of 5 ways that I can pick the book that I read. So I realized that I had a lot of different ways to help me randomly pick a book, and I didn't want to just stick to one. I want to actually use all of those methods. So what I decided to do, and I wanted to make sure that I was incorporating some of my goals into this game as well, and so the pink will represent global read. So I have a project going on with Kim from Expedition Through Pages. We want to read books from around the world, and so we've got books for Cambodia going on right now, and we wanted to both make sure that we could prioritize that this year. And so one way I thought that I could do this is to incorporate it in my TBR game. So the pink spaces will represent me putting one of those global reads specifically on my TBR for that month and not just hoping that I can prioritize it. The green spaces will represent Fairy Loot tarot cards. So every month Fairy Loot will we'll put some tarot cards in their boxes, and I have little prompts on each one. And so if I get Fairy Loot card, then I will have a handful of these that I shuffle and pick between. And if I land on a blue space, that will be, I also have Jessie's deck of TBR cards, which I'm very excited about, and I haven't used yet. And so I'm hoping that I can use those cards this year to pick some of my books. And so the blue space will allow me to pick a card from that deck, and that be how I choose my book. The purple space here represents just a mood read. I at least wanted to have some flexibility to specifically put just something I'm super excited about on my TBR and not have it be random. And then the gray spaces, another goal that I have this year is just to make sure that I'm prioritizing and can stay caught up with Fairy Loot and Book of the Month reads. And so I wanted to make sure to have a space specifically for that, to put those on my TBR each month if I land on a gray space. And I'm planning, as I said, to just do 4 to 5 rolls a month. I don't want to completely fill my TBR with this game. I still want to leave some space to just pick some books that I'm in the mood for, or if I want to participate in a readathon or something. I still want to prioritize my physical TBR, but I wanted some ways to pick it like this, but I also want to leave some space on the TBR. So that's the plan, pretty simple. The design was kind of inspired by Candyland, which is why I called it TBR Land. But yeah, very excited, and so I just want to jump right in and let's see what the board has in store for me for the month of January. And roll 1. Oh, interesting. So we got, can you see that? Got that 1 right there was the first roll. So I'll just set that here and move our little guy right there. So a global read. Okay, so rule number 1 was a global read, and so as I mentioned, this was one way to actually get these books on my TBR, and we're doing Cambodia books right now, as I said, so I want to go ahead and put History of Cambodia by Captivating History on here. I have actually started this. I've read almost half of it, and I just want to make sure that I can finish it. I do have the other books here, and I'll get to as many as I can this month and try to keep up with Kim, who is also prioritizing them for this month, but I want to specifically put this one on my TBR just to have that in one of the slots. And roll 2. And got a 6. So 1, 2, and a fairy loot card. And roll number 2 was a fairy loot pick. So I mentioned that I would pick, I don't want to necessarily shuffle all of them just because that's going to be physically pretty difficult. Another thing I want to mention is that I have some blank cards that don't yet have prompts on them. And so if you have any inspiration or ideas for prompts, I would love to hear them down below in the comments. But I did pick just a handful that I wanted to kind of shuffle between, and we'll just we'll see what the fairy loot cards have in store. These are kind of difficult to shuffle, but I'm gonna do my best here. Okay, so I'm just gonna spread them out here, and I will pick this one right here. So we have, I know it's kind of hard to read, but this says pirate books. I know, again, hard to read, but that's what the prompt was for this one, and I've got a perfect pick for this. So for that, I'm going to pick Ship of Destiny by Robin Hobb, and this is the final book in the Live Ship Trader series, and in this one we follow sentient ships and the families who help run these ships. We follow pirates, we follow a bunch of politics going on between pirates and these Live Ship Trader families, and there's a lot going on. It's a huge cast of characters, and I absolutely love this series, and I really would love to continue. So that was the perfect pick for a pirate book. I'm very excited. And roll 3. We got 16. TBR deck. So roll number 3 was Jesse's deck of TBR cards, and I do want to put a caveat for this in that, again, I'm trying to get my physical TBR down, and so I'm gonna try to fit my physical TBR to the prompts. If I can't do that, I think I'm gonna allow myself to see if I can draw again and see if I can get something on my physical TBR that will actually match. There might be, I have no idea how many of these might actually fit something that's on my TBR. So we'll just have to see, but that'll be a caveat for this cake. So I'm gonna do that. I'm also just gonna shuffle it right down here. Okay, so just shuffled, and I will just pick one at random. Let's see what this one says. Give you a glimpse there, and this, oh, it is upside down. There we go, a Quakia Mezi card. Own voices book or comic with a trans spectrum protagonist. And I don't believe I have, I'm not sure, the comics that I have at the moment only include On a Sunbeam and Saga, and I'm not sure if Saga includes any trans spectrum protagonist. I will look it up and see if it does. If it does, I will put Saga here. I will draw another one just in case, but I will look up if Saga actually has a trans-spectrum protagonist. But something that I have, okay, hopefully this is facing the right way. Hope you can see that here. Best part of 5-star prediction. So this one I can definitely do with my physical TBR. So for this one, I'm going to put Dune Messiah by Frank Herbert on the TBR. I would love to continue with Dune Chronicles. I really enjoyed the first one and I'm desperate to continue. And the start of this series follows the Atreides family when they go to Arrakis, or the planet Dune, and kind of take control of the production of a spice that is only found on Dune, very politically important. And they're embroiled in a bunch of politics between the Emperor, other house families that are important, the people who are native to that planet. They get embroiled in a bunch of politics. It was super interesting, and I want to continue with that series. And roll 4. And I got 15. You can even see that. There we go. And another TBR deck card. So for the 4th one, we got another card from Jesse's TBR deck. So let's see, I'll put the same caveat of I'm going to try to focus on my physical TBR, so fingers crossed this works. So let's just pick this one and I'll put it up here. And this is Get Out, a book featuring your greatest fear. So for this one, I will put The Keeper of Night by Kylie Lee Baker. This is a Book of the Month selection that I have yet to get to and am very excited for. So for this one, the, I guess, connection to a fear, I think a lot of people have some fear surrounding death and the uncertainty of when they're going to die. And in this book, we follow a character who is half British Reaper, half Japanese Shinigami, and I believe her Shinigami powers are starting to develop, and she's having a difficult time controlling them. She's essentially kicked out of London, where part of her family is, and she goes to Japan to explore the Shinigami part of her. And I'm not sure what else happens, but I'm kind of making a loose connection with the Reaper part of her identity, and we'll call it good, okay? So yeah, definitely excited for this one. I've heard amazing things about this one, so very excited to dive in. And the 5th and final roll. And we got 20. And a 3rd TBR deck card. And for the 5th roll, we got another card from the deck. So let's just go ahead and I'll pick this one right here. Let's see what this is. Hold it up here if it'll actually focus. And this is the Nello Hopkinson card, literature by a Caribbean author. I don't think I have any books on my physical TBR from a Caribbean author, unfortunately. So we're just going to draw again, and we'll do this one. Let's see, this is the Page to Screen, a book adapted to screen. I do actually have the perfect one for this. I have been meaning to continue with the Grishaverse. So I will put the Six of Crows, so I'll put Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo on my TBR. So technically what is out right now follows the original Grisha trilogy, but the characters from the Six of Crows duology do make an appearance, as I understand it. I still want to watch the show after I finish this duology. but they do make an appearance in that show, so I think it counts. So I will put Six of Crows on here. The original trilogy follows Elena Starkov, who discovers that she has some magical abilities and needs to use those magical abilities to help kind of conquer the evil of her world. There's an area called the Fold. It's kind of just a void with some dangerous creatures in it, and so she needs to see what she can do to vanquish this area. And this duology follows a different set of characters that I believe are in a different part of the world. I think it's also set in a different time period slightly from the actual events of the first trilogy. So I'm not exactly sure when or where this is set, but we follow a different set of characters that go on a heist, and I've heard amazing things, so I'm excited to continue on with the Grishaverse. So here we have the 5 books that are, including, this is the small one that is the history book for Cambodia, but these are the 5 books that are on the TBR Land TBR, but I will also go over a few other books that I'm hoping to get to in the month of January. One is The Gilded Cage, and this is by Lynette Noni, and this is the follow-up to The Prison Healer, and I read that last year, had a really good time with it, and I was definitely very interested in where the story was going. You follow a young woman who has been in prison for 10 years. Her father was also imprisoned. He was the healer at the prison, and she took over after he died. And there's a couple of things going on. There's kind of a plague that's going around the prison that she's dealing with. There's also someone who's brought in who has been sentenced to trial by ordeal and is very sick, so she's taking care of this new person in the prison in the infirmary, but also for reasons decides to take on her sentence and do these ordeals that are part of this trial. They're physical ordeals that really are just not survivable, but she's taking on these ordeals on this person's behalf, and I just thought it was fun and entertaining, and again, I want to see where the story goes, so I'm really hoping to get to this one. Another book that I would love to read is Jade Fire Gold by June Ciel Tan. I'm not too sure what this one's about. There's an empire on the brink of war, and we follow 2 main characters. One is no one with no past and no family. Another is a lost heir, his future stolen away as a child, and their paths are intertwined in some way. I've heard amazing things, and this is a beautiful fairy loot edition, and I'm excited to get to it. And again, I want to catch up with some fairy loots, so I want to put this on the TBR. There are also a couple of nonfiction that I would love to get to. One is Joyful by Ingrid Fattel Lee. This is something that my mom is letting me borrow. She read this after one of our family pets, or one of our family dogs, passed away last year, and this was something that she was reading kind of in the healing process from that, and really enjoyed and thought that I would enjoy as well. And so not too sure what this is about. I think her main argument is that there can be a lot of joy through small things, including physical things in your surroundings. And anyway, very intrigued, so I want to go ahead and get that so that I can return that to my mom. I also want to read All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot, and this is a memoir from a veterinarian. This was a gift from my boyfriend for Christmas, and I want to make sure I prioritize that as well. And I love animals, and so you know, reading a classic memoir from a vet would be amazing, and I'm sure it's going to be super interesting, and I'm very excited. So I want to go ahead and put this on the TBR as well, and we'll see what else happens. I think that's all that I want to mention in this video at the moment, and we'll see if I can even finish all of those. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll be sure to link everything that I mentioned down below. I'll also be sure to leave my Twitter and Instagram. That's where I'd like to hang out. I will also leave more information about how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.